If there's one thing that can totally transform a space, it is natural light. It is not just about aesthetics. Studies show that spending more time in daylight can boost your mood, help you sleep better, and even sharpen your focus. So whether you're renovating, building from scratch, or just trying to make your home feel less like a cave, this video will show you how to bring more natural light into your home. Look at these two rooms, and you can probably tell which one feels better instantly. The answer is often light, or more specifically, where it's coming from. Most modern homes are designed with just one window per room, usually placed on one wall. And while that might seem practical or cost-effective, it is actually not ideal for living or workspaces. You might have noticed that light from only one direction creates harsh contrast, blinding near the window, but gloomy and full of shadows as you go deeper into the room. It flattens a room, makes it feel less inviting, and subtly affects how much time you actually want to spend there. In fact, architects and designers have long known this. One of the most enduring principles in architecture is what is called light from two sides. When daylight enters from two different directions, whether through corner windows, clerestories, or borrowed interior light, it softens shadows, adds depth, and makes a room come alive. This isn't just theory. It's backed by post-occupancy studies in homes, schools, and workplaces. People consistently feel better, stay longer, and use rooms more when they're lit from more than one side. And I've experienced this firsthand. When we moved into this house 2 years ago, I turned the main living area into my office, and it gets light from 4 different directions. The difference was immediate, not just in how it looked, but in how I felt in the space. So if your home's only getting light from one direction, I'll show you 8 ways to fix that, from architectural changes to simple shifts in layout and even paint. If you can't add a window to a room, borrow light from one next door. Back in the 1930s, it was common to have transom windows, those little glass panels above interior doors to let light spill from one room to another. And it is still a smart solution, especially in the middle of the home where external windows aren't an option. But you don't have to stop there. You can maximize the amount of light you're borrowing by using glass doors like what one of our subscribers, Terry, did here in his dining room and kitchen. And if you want to take it even further, consider adding an entire internal glass wall. Cradle-style doors are a great example. They have a very versatile design that complements both modern and traditional homes. They also give you that separation between rooms without blocking the light. This matters because light from one direction creates uneven brightness. But when you borrow light from an adjacent room, you soften the contrast and bring a second direction of light into the space. And it doesn't always have to be glass. If you're after a softer divide and some shadow play, slatted panels like these matte black ones can also help pass light through while creating that feeling of separation. Now, one area that is often overlooked is the front door. If your entryway feels dark, consider adding small sections of textured or lead light glass to your door. You don't want a sheet of clear glass due to privacy reasons, but textured or lead light glass lets plenty of light in while keeping your privacy. It is a simple upgrade that can completely change a dark and dingy entryway. You might not be familiar with the name, but I'm sure you have seen clerestory window before. They sit above eye level, usually just below the roofline, and let in daylight without exposing the inside of your home. They're ideal for bathrooms, rooms that face a neighbor or a busy street, or anywhere you need light without losing privacy. And while they look quite modern, they've actually been used in architecture for thousands of years. The first ones date all the way back to 1300 BC in the Temple of Ammon in Egypt, and they're famously used in Gothic cathedrals with high vaulted ceilings. These days, they're usually slim horizontal or triangular shapes that fit nicely into modern rooflines. But beyond just light and privacy, they can also help with ventilation and passive energy design. When paired with lower windows that can also open, warm air rises and escapes through the clerestory window while cooler air is drawn in below. In winter, it can also be beneficial to allow sunlight to penetrate deeper into the room and passively heat the interior space. And while we're on the topic of windows, sometimes the problem isn't your windows, it is what's outside of them. If you have overgrown trees or bushes blocking the light, little strategic pruning can make a surprisingly big difference. If your home has a long, narrow layout or has too many dark corners, Skylights can make a massive difference. This is especially true in terrace homes and townhouses, which is very popular in Sydney and London, where windows are often limited to the front and back. The middle of the house is completely starved of daylight and ends up feeling like a cave. Skylights and solar tubes help flood these areas with daylight from above, bringing light deep into the layout where it's needed most. Take this kitchen by Cube Construction as an example. They've lined up 3 skylights above the walkway between the island and the bench, turning what could have been a gloomy workspace into a light-filled zone. Similarly, Sandbox Studio used skylights in this Paddington Terrace to brighten both the kitchen and the dining area, which is so crucial in narrow homes like these in Sydney. Skylights are also great in stairwells and bathrooms. In this beautiful Edwardian home by Timin Plus White, they've added skylights over the staircase and in the bathroom right above the shower, which brings in plenty of natural light without compromising on privacy. Well, unless a very determined bird happens to fly overhead. In a previous project we've worked on, the architects installed skylights above the stairwell of this previously dark home, and it brings in tons of natural light into the space. You can also add automated blinds to deal with glare if it becomes too intense at any point of the day. And if a full skylight isn't an option, consider tubular daylighting devices, TDDs, also known as solar tubes. They're like mini skylights using a reflective tube to direct sunlight from your roof into your ceiling. At the end, a glaze opening diffuses the light so you get a soft natural glow. They often resemble a flash mount ceiling light, so most people wouldn't even realize it's sunlight. A few things to watch out for. Skylights need to be installed properly to avoid leaks, and poor placement can lead to overheating. So always consult an architect or a qualified installer before cutting into your roof. One limitation of skylights is that they only light a single floor. If you live in a 2-story or multi-level home, that light won't make it down on its own, unless you create a vertical opening. That is where voids and light wells come in. One of the most common and practical places to create a void is around your staircase. That is exactly what JDA Studios did in their aptly named Double Void House. True to the name, they carved out 2 generous rectangular voids in the upper floor. One sits above the staircase and the other beside it, both designed to maximize daylight using open riser stairs and tensile wire balustrades instead of solid guardrails. A similar strategy was done in, wait for it, Void House by Light Plus Air Studios. This home features a dramatic 3-story central void running right over the staircase. Again, they've used open treads and transparent guardrails, allowing light from the top floor to filter down to the lower levels. Clearly, all the creativity went into the design, not the naming. In a previous project we worked on that I mentioned earlier, the one where skylights were added above the stairwell, there's also a void with angled skylights and frameless glass balustrades along the upper floor hallway. Together, these features let natural light stream down into the main living area below. Stafford Architects took it a step further in the Darling Point house by adding a 10-meter high void topped with skylights. This brings daylight all the way down to the kitchen and dining area of a tall and narrow home. But this doesn't always have to be done internally. Imogen Puller Architects tackled the classic dark middle of the house problem in a different way by creating an external central courtyard in this North Fitzroy home. With floor-to-ceiling windows and glass doors on all sides, they've essentially created an external opening, flooding the home with plenty of sunlight and creating a lush garden view at the same time. So far, we've looked at structural ways to let more daylight in. But even if you can't knock down walls or add windows, there's still a lot you can do with layout, furniture, and finishes. So far, we focus on how to bring more daylight into your home. But you also need to plan how you'll actually use that light. And that starts with how you plan and lay out your rooms. If you think back to modernist design principles, homes were often arranged so you'll start your day in a bedroom facing east to catch the morning sun, with living areas oriented south or west to soak up the afternoon light. Service areas like kitchen and bathrooms were placed on the north side, which receives less direct sunlight. This is true for the northern hemisphere, where south-facing rooms get the most sunlight throughout the day. But in the southern hemisphere, like here in Australia, it is the north-facing room that gets the best natural light throughout the day. This logic can guide how you position key rooms. For example, putting a home office where morning or midday light is the strongest. Even flipping the typical upstairs-downstairs layout can sometimes make sense. Upper floors get more natural light, So instead of defaulting to bedrooms up top, you might consider placing them downstairs if you prefer a darker, more restful space. It is less about the rules and more about how you want each space to function. You can see this type of intentional planning in a few of the homes I've shown. In this narrow Edwardian home by Timmins Plus White, the bathroom and laundry were relocated to the middle of the ground floor, areas that don't need as much daylight, freeing up the brighter zones for rooms where people actually spend time. In Void House by Light Plus Air Studios, they rotated the typical straight staircase into a switchback configuration. This transformed the stairwell into an architectural void, bringing light deeper into the home without adding extra windows. Now if you're thinking, that is great, but I'm not moving walls anytime soon, this still applies to you. You can maximize light just by rethinking your furniture layout. For example, place your desk closer to a window instead of squeezing it into a dark corner. That one small shift can change how much natural light you get throughout the day. Also consider a few tweaks that help light move more freely. Avoid placing tall, bulky furniture in front of windows. Extend your curtains wider than the window to avoid blocking light, and opt for furniture with legs so daylight can pass under and around it. If adding more windows or openings isn't an option, the next best thing you can do is help natural light travel further. And one of the most effective ways to do that is with mirrors. But not just any mirror in any spot. To really make a difference, mirrors should be placed directly opposite or beside a window or a light source. That is how you bounce daylight deeper into the room. Take this mirror for example. It is not directly opposite a window, but it still reflects the internal glass doors across from it, which are bringing in light from another space. There's also a mirror above the fireplace mantle here that reflects sunlight coming through the door on the right. And mirrors don't always have to be decorative afterthoughts. You can build reflective surfaces right into your design, like a mirrored backsplash in the kitchen, a mirrored vanity in the bathroom, or even chrome finishes and fixtures. Anything with a gloss or shine, like white marble, polished stone, lacquered surfaces, or metallic objects, will bounce some amount of light around the room. Just don't overdo it, as too many reflective surfaces can start to feel cold. Use them where they'll actually catch the light. And if you want to experiment with ideas before making changes, I've created a new tool called Room Visualizer AI. You can upload a photo of your room and instantly see how your space could look, styled to your taste with our expert guided AI. It is invite only for now, but you can join the waitlist through the link below. If you want to brighten a space without doing any construction, paint and furniture choices can go a long way. Lighter colors reflect more light, while darker colors absorb it. So if you've got a room that feels a bit dim, consider painting the walls, ceilings, or even changing the floors to a lighter shade. Large pieces like sofas, rugs, or cabinetry in lighter tones can help bounce light around too. Here's an example from a past project where we brighten a room just by replacing dark furniture and layering in a lighter rug. You don't need to go all white, just lighter tones like oak, timber, off-white, or brighter hues can already shift the feel of a space. In fact, I'll personally avoid using stark white in a dark room. It is a common myth that will make things feel brighter, but without light to reflect, stark white just looks flat and lifeless. An off-white or soft light color will do a much better job. Whether you go for a warmer or cooler tone depends on the space and the mood you want. Glossy or satin finishes will reflect more light than flat or matte ones, especially useful on ceilings or cabinetry. But if your space gets a lot of glare or has uneven lighting, maybe stick to matte or eggshell to keep things soft and flattering. And finally, not every room needs to be bright. Sometimes, it is better to lean into darker areas of your home and create a mood instead of fighting it. A rich paint color or moody wallpaper can turn a dim space into the perfect spot to relax and wind down. And if you want more guidance to pull your room together, I've created a free guide called Secrets to a Beautiful Home. Inside, you'll also find a decorating checklist and some video guides to help you as you're decorating your home. While it is great to maximize natural light, you shouldn't neglect your artificial lighting. I always recommend having multiple light sources in every room so you can build a layered lighting scheme. I go into way more depth in my full video on lighting, which I've linked below, but here's a quick summary. Aim to include 3 to 5 different light sources spread across the room, in addition to your ceiling downlights. You can use a mix of table lamps, floor lamps, wall sconces, pendants, wall washers, LED strips, and many more. Floor lamps are especially great in corners, which tend to be the darkest spots. Ideally, you want to be able to light your space and have pools of light without relying on ceiling lights. And here's a bonus tip. If you need more artificial light during the day, try smart bulbs that adjust to mimic natural light. They shift color temperature throughout the day, cooler in the morning, and warmer in the evening, so it mimics our circadian rhythm. If you enjoyed this video, check out this video on 13 ways to brighten a dark room, or this video on how to make your home more inviting. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.